What archaeologists just found at the Church of the Holy Sepulchre is bigger than anyone expected. And no, I'm not talking about like the Ark of the Covenant or Indiana Jones finding his hat. In case you missed it, researchers uncovered an ancient garden beneath the very spot Christians venerate as Jesus' empty tomb. Today, we're going to unpack exactly what they discovered, how it directly confirms the Bible, and why this find is way more significant than most people, even experts, realize. Hello, I am Cameron Bertuzzi, and this is Capturing Christianity, where I expose the truth of Christian belief. If you appreciate videos like this and want to see more high-quality, truth-focused content, head over to capturingchristianity.com/donate. Your support is absolutely vital in helping us share discoveries like this with the world. All right, let's dig in literally into what archaeologists discovered beneath the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. During an extensive restoration project that's been underway since 2022, a team led by Professor Francesca Romana Stassola from Sapienza University of Rome stumbled upon something absolutely remarkable. Now, when I say that they discovered a garden, don't picture like your grandma's backyard tomatoes, okay? We're talking about a 2,000-year-old agricultural plot. Olive trees, grapevines and all, perfectly matching the biblical description in John 19:41, which says, "Now in the place where he was crucified, there was a garden, and in the garden, a new tomb." But how exactly did they determine that this was actually a garden? Really glad that you asked. First, and this is absolutely fascinating, archaeobotanical analyses, which is just a fancy word for studying ancient plant remains, revealed preserved olive pits, grape seeds, and pollen trapped in sealed soil layers beneath the church floor. And these weren't just like random seeds scattered about, they were actually neatly organized into terraced planting beds lined by low stone walls. Exactly what you'd expect to see in a cultivated garden from the first century. As if that weren't enough, researchers also uncovered several rock-cut tombs carved directly into the bedrock. And these weren't just caves formed by nature, they were purposefully hand-chiseled chambers dating precisely to the era around Jesus' crucifixion. Again, just as the Gospels describe. It actually gets even more intriguing. This ancient garden layer sits directly beneath debris laid down by the Roman Emperor Hadrian around 135 AD. Hadrian built a pagan temple right over this spot, presumably to erase early Christian memory of this site. And ironically, by burying it, he actually ended up preserving exactly what Christians have been remembering all along, the precise spot where Jesus was crucified and laid to rest. And just to sweeten the deal, beneath the church's central shrine, archaeologists even found the original circular marble foundation from Emperor Constantine's 4th century church, directly linking today's basilica with early Christian worship. Halfway through uncovering these details, you've probably started wondering, like, why isn't this like buzzing news around the entire world right now? And that's actually a really great question. You want to stick around because in this next section, we're going to see exactly how this incredible story not only confirms the Bible, but also definitely settles a decades-old debate. And then after that, I'll explain why this find is way bigger than people realize. All right, so we've got a garden, we've got some ancient olive pits, grape seeds, and tombs carved right straight into the rock. But what exactly does this matter for confirming the Bible? Well, John's gospel specifically tells us that Jesus was crucified and buried in a garden close to the crucifixion site in John 19:41. And guess what? This discovery perfectly matches John's description. Before this find, some critics argued that John's mention of a garden might have been symbolic or metaphorical. We're going to talk about that a little bit more in a moment. But now that we've got this concrete archaeological proof that there was a garden, John actually wrote about something that actually existed. Now let's quickly touch on this long-standing debate about where Jesus' tomb really was. You may have heard of the Garden Tomb, which is north of the Damascus Gate. It's really popular among Protestants. It's peaceful, it's garden-like, and here's the thing. Archaeologically speaking, it doesn't really match up, okay? The Garden Tomb is actually much older. It dates back to the Iron Age, long before the time of Christ. So in other words, it doesn't really fit the biblical timeline. On the other hand, the Church of the Holy Sepulchre has always been the prime candidate historically. Okay, it's been revered as the authentic location of Jesus' tomb for nearly 2,000 years. Now, with this recent discovery, though, the historical credibility of the Holy Sepulchre skyrockets. Okay, the garden that they've just uncovered wasn't random or metaphorical. It was precisely what John described. A cultivated area complete with vines and olives just outside Jerusalem's city walls at exactly the right period in history. So in short, this archaeological find doesn't just support the overall reliability of the Bible, it specifically confirms John's accuracy as an eyewitness who knew exactly what he was talking about. It demonstrates yet again that the Gospels weren't fairy tales spun decades later, but authentic historical accounts grounded firmly in real locations. Coming up, we're going to see exactly why this discovery isn't just significant, it's massive. And yet somehow almost everyone has overlooked its true importance. You're definitely going to want to hear this. All right, so why is this discovery beneath the Church of the Holy Sepulchre such a big deal? Well, it's not just because it confirms that John's gospel or settles the centuries-old debate about the tomb's location, though it does that, and though those are already super big. But it turns out this find actually provides 6 additional confirmations of the biblical narrative that most people have completely overlooked. So first, archaeologists can now prove beyond doubt that this quarry-turned garden was located just outside Jerusalem's city walls around the time of Jesus' crucifixion. Remember, the Bible explicitly states that Jesus was crucified and buried just outside the city in John 19:20 and in Hebrews 13:12. This precise stratigraphy confirms that this garden layer predates Emperor Hadrian's city expansion, perfectly matching the biblical description. Second, John's gospel specifies that the tomb was new and belonged to a wealthy man named Joseph of Arimathea in John 19:41 and in Matthew 27:60. The excavation has revealed precisely this. Okay, it was unused, first used Kochim tombs carved directly out of solid rock within the garden. These tombs were not only new as described, but also match an expensive design that only the elite could have afforded. Third, Mark's gospel emphasizes that the tomb was cut out of the rock in Mark 15:46. And guess what? The exposed chambers beneath the basilica are exactly that. Hand-cut tombs, not natural caves. This discovery harmonizes the details across all 4 gospels in a spectacular convergence of evidence. Fourth, the Bible indicates urgency. Okay, Jesus was crucified on the day of preparation, which required very quick burial before the Sabbath. Again, read John 19:42. Having a ready-made tomb mere steps away from Golgotha makes perfect logical sense. Okay, the recent archaeological evidence confirms this scenario wasn't just plausible, it actually happened exactly as described. Fifth, remember how John uses vine and garden imagery throughout his gospel. Like check out John 15:1-8. Well, the discovery of actual first century vine and olive remains, precisely where John places the garden, adds incredible depth to his gospel. It shows John's theological symbolism was anchored in real, tangible details his readers would have instantly recognized. And finally, the 6th confirmation, Hadrian's deliberate burial of the garden beneath the pagan shrine in 135 AD makes sense only if Christians were already venerating the spot identified in John 19. Early disciples knew precisely where Jesus was buried, John 22:13. And now archaeology confirms that memory was literally sealed beneath Roman debris within just a century of Jesus' resurrection. So this is not just like a cool archaeological find. It's an unprecedented convergence of science, history, and faith. The garden beneath the Church of the Holy Sepulchre has quietly preserved for 2,000 years, a testimony that amplifies the gospel narratives like never before. So the next time someone tries to tell you that the Bible is just a bunch of myths, remind them of this. Okay, archaeology isn't just confirming vague biblical details. It's uncovering layers of history that show the Bible's accounts were precise, down to the smallest, most incredible details. Oh, and by the way, Christianity is true.